Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric. I'm going to get another exciting episode for you guys today. We're going to be taking a look at another one of the Atomiswave to Dreamcast ports. And I use the word port loosely because they're basically the same hardware, but we're getting some amazing things happening in November for the Dreamcast. And one of the most demanded and talked about games when these ports started was Dolphin Blue. And I've actually done a video on this game previously on the channel on Unported Playlist, but now I guess it has been ported and it's been ported to the Dreamcast. This is probably the Atomiswave's #1 game. I absolutely love it. It is a spectacular running gun shooter in the vein of something like Metal Slug, except there's dolphins, and a lot of it takes place underwater. But before we get too far involved, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below and hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined, we got a Patreon link down there as well if you want to support the channel. But this is a game that never got ported home, and outside of the one person, a MegaVolt 85, porting Atomiswave games to the Dreamcast, there was no way to play this unless you A, emulated it, or B, bought a very expensive cartridge. This game is extremely expensive, or C, bought a bootleg cartridge and owned an Atomiswave board. But now you're able to just take this file and you can either emulate it in Demio or any of the other, Dreamcast emulators, or you can put it on your optical disc emulator for your Dreamcast. Now there is a little caveat about this game. They're working on a second version, and at the end of the video I'll show you why. But it is absolutely spectacular that we now are able to play this game on our Dreamcast, because I emulate this. I'm not a big fan of buying bootleg cartridges. Not that I don't have any issue with the expense of it, it's more the fact that I don't love encouraging bootlegs being on the market in the first place, because for everybody who's responsible with them and doesn't try to resell them as an original cartridge, there are people out there that will try to pass a bootleg off as the real thing, and unsuspecting buyers, if they don't know what they're looking for, can sometimes end up paying $500, $750 for a cartridge that's nothing more than a $50 repro coming out of China. And a lot of the reproduction cartridges are never marked as repros, so it's a pretty dangerous situation to potentially put yourself in. It's way more prevalent in the Neo Geo market, but it's still one of those things. I appreciate that they exist and I know why they do, but for me personally, I don't like buying anything like that for my collection just because I don't love the idea of somebody potentially down the line getting, screwed over, not by me, but by somebody else. But outside of that, you can now just put the game on your Dreamcast and play it to your heart's content. And that is a spectacular thing because this game is absolutely incredible. There's not enough good things I can say about it. If you enjoy Metal Slug, you're going to love this game. If you've never played Metal Slug but you like Contra, you're going to love this game. If you have two hands with thumbs on them and can push buttons, you're probably going to love this game. That's how good it really is. It's a constant action, fast-paced run and gun shooter with some beautiful visuals that is just an absolute joy to play, and it is quite difficult. The nice thing is, if you're not in an arcade, you're not putting quarters in it, and this is set to free play, so it really doesn't matter too much to us how hard it is, but this is the type of game that you continually play, get better at, and before you realize it, get close to a 1-credit continue run on it. But I love the mix of visuals. Obviously, the Dreamcast, or the Atomiswave, being a 3D platform, we have all these nice polygonal elements in the background, but all the sprite work on all the enemies, on your character sprite, it looks spectacular. There's tons of frames of animation, and everything just looks really nice. The way his scarf moves in the wind, it's not 2 or 4 frames of animation, it's very fluidly animated. And I like the fact that we also get the polygonal bosses with the sprites on top of them. It's a really nice look. For some strange reason, it reminds me of Roger Rabbit, where you have animation in the world of actual physical people, but obviously in this case we're dealing with a mix of polygonal graphics versus that sprite work. But I think they marry really well together, and it just goes to make an excellent looking game that just plays so incredibly well. And that's what I really want you guys to take away if you've never heard of this game before, is there's now a ton of different ways to play it. You can emulate the Atomiswave ROM, you can download it and put it on your optical disc emulator for your Dreamcast, you can emulate it in any Dreamcast emulator. There's no reason not to play it anymore because it is so easy, and the fact that I don't need to emulate this, I can just, pop the file on my Dreamcast, sit in front of my couch, use my upscaler, and play this in 4K from my living room is absolutely spectacular. And that's the real takeaway from a lot of these Atomiswave to Dreamcast ports, is that not all of them ever had it release on a different console. Obviously something like King of Fighters 11 was on the PlayStation 2, but for Dolphin Blue, it never came home, so this is as close as you're going to get to be able to sit on your couch and play it and enjoy it. I even love that, you know, all of those sprites of the divers, you shoot them, you must hit their air tank and they blow up and explode into just this scattered mess, and then you can see their boots and their goggles kind of floating down around them. The game just has a complete ton of charm that is just going to make you smile from ear to ear the entire time you're playing it. What I'll let you do is listen to a little bit of the game. It's got a great soundtrack, amazing sound effects. I'll be back in like a minute. We'll close out Dolphin Blue, but enjoy. So now that we're on to stage 3, or they call it log 3, this is where the issue in the game crops up. And as of putting this video up, it hasn't been solved yet, but with all the work that MegaVolt 85 is doing, I'm sure it will soon. The game stops working in stage 3, which is unfortunate, but that's how bleeding edge these ports really are. We're in real time seeing conversions that people didn't think were possible coming out almost daily at this point in time. There's 9 games out so far, and while I'm recording this, who knows, they could have put 2 or 3 more out there as well. But that's the fun part about being on the cutting edge of seeing these things happening in real time, is that you get to see kind of the iterative process of how they work. Not every single release is going to be perfect, but the fact that we are now on 9 games on the Dreamcast ported from the Atomiswave means that the Dreamcast has 9 more games in November of 2020 than it did in October of 2020. And honestly, I made this joke on Reddit, but I'm more excited about the Dreamcast lineup this fall than I am about the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, because there's more fun new games to play on Dreamcast in 2020 than the brand new consoles, and that's just amazing. But we're going to cover all these releases as they happen, and we've got more scheduled, but we will be back on Sunday with an episode of our unported playlist, and we'll be back on Tuesday and Friday as well with our normal videos. But thanks so much for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Like I said earlier, if you could do me a huge favor, hit like and subscribe. But I will be talking about every single Atomiswave to Dreamcast port that's already out and it's coming up. And you'll see here, this is where the issue happens. The characters don't continue to load, and this screen will just infinitely scroll till you're out of time. So I guess it's like half a game preview, but it's definitely still worth checking out. But we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.